Hey artists, in this video we are going to talk about our watercolor and liquid masking fluid geometric portrait art project. For this project you're going to need a portrait of yourself printed out in a geometric style. You're also going to need watercolor paper and a pencil. Bring it over to the light table and trace your portrait onto the watercolor paper. Once you're done tracing onto the watercolor paper your geometric portrait, you're going to get the liquid masking fluid. You're going to have to press down and turn at the same time to open the bottle. Make sure you shake the bottle before you open it. That way, none of the product is settled in the bottle. You're going to dip the brush, just the bristles of the brush, into the liquid masking fluid, and then you're going to very carefully go over all of your pencil lines with the masking fluid. The masking fluid is going to make a resist where the watercolor will not go through the liquid masking fluid, leaving the white of the paper showing. So carefully do this because all of the lines that you're painting is what is going to really stand out in your final artwork. So carefully go over each one of the lines, re-dipping the brush as you need inside of the liquid masking fluid. Be careful not to get the liquid masking fluid onto the metal part of the paintbrush or the wooden handle of the paintbrush. When you go to dip it in, be careful not to tip the bottle over as cleaning this up is very messy and the liquid masking fluid dries quickly and turns into a rubbery substance that you do not want to get onto your clothes, onto the floor, or onto the table. It will be very hard to get it out of your clothes. Carefully paint the liquid masking fluid all over every single line in your geometric portrait. Using a small brush is going to help you create very clean and neat lines. Take the time to do this carefully. For me, this took about 25 minutes, but this might take you longer, and that's okay. The most important thing is that you have clean, neat lines painted over with the liquid masking fluid. You also want to try and not smudge the liquid masking fluid as it's drying because that part will also get stuck onto the paper wherever the liquid masking fluid is. You might notice while you're painting on the liquid masking fluid that it looks a little bit bubbly, but when it dries, it will settle and be completely flat, creating that mask that will protect the watercolor paper from any of the color seeping through. Take your time to carefully do this. Again, I found it easier to work from the middle of the portrait and then work my way towards the bottom of the portrait so that my hand did not rub over the parts of the paint that needed to dry. Once you're done with the liquid masking fluid, you need to wash the brush quickly and put the brush back into the container with the other brushes for the liquid masking fluid because the liquid masking fluid will kind of ruin the bristles of the brush and tangle them together with that rubbery substance. And then you need to wait for your project to completely dry. It's going to have that glistening effect, which you'll be able to notice has gone over your whole painting. Once your painting is dry, you're going to fully saturate the entire watercolor paper with water. And then quickly, before it starts to dry, add in dots of watercolor paint over your entire portrait. You might notice the watercolor paint sitting on top of the liquid masking fluid, and that's okay. The liquid masking fluid is doing its job, protecting the watercolor paper from absorbing any of the color. You are going to want to work quickly to fill in your entire portrait with vibrant watercolor paints. You can mix colors together, you can blend them with the brush, you can stick to one or two colors or use all of the colors. While the paint is drying, I thought that some of it looked a little bit too dark, so I started to blot up the colors just a bit with a paper towel. And then before it started to dry, I added in a little bit more color and helped blend some of the colors together using just water. Around the edge of the portrait, I also added a vignette with black. I wanted to add black as a vignette to make my artwork stand out so that my portrait is really the focal point in the center. So you can do this step or you can skip this step. I did this while everything was still wet so that way the border vignette would kind of fade into all of the really bold colors in the center. I also wanted to add a little bit more color to the face because some of those areas were a little bit not so intense anymore. And then I blotted a little bit up. Wait for everything to dry. Use an eraser or your finger to rub off the liquid masking fluid. This is going to take you a little bit of time, but you are going to erase the pencil lines from your time at the light table. And we are going to be left with a very clean, bright white watercolor paper once the liquid masking fluid is removed. Try to get all of those eraser scraps into the garbage, and then your artwork is complete. I can't wait to see what you create for your geometric portrait art project.